I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular scheduled Commissioners Court meeting, February 12th. I'd like the record to reflect that all members of the court are present. And if you would, please stand. We're honored this morning to have the Reverend Brian Liscombe from the Providence Baptist Church to lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today just to thank you and Lord, to praise you for the day that you have given us. And God, may we rejoice in it. May we be glad in it. God, may we give it to you. And God, I want to thank you for this court. Lord, those that are serving, we praise you for them. And God, we just ask simply today that you will bless them. And God, we pray that you'll impart wisdom to them, that they might have the understanding, Lord, to make wise decisions. Lord, decisions that will honor you, decisions that will benefit the members of this county, the citizens here in this county, that Lord, that they might just do what is right in your eyes and in the eyes of the people. And Lord, that you'll just bless them in every decision that they make. And Lord, may everyone here today, Lord, be civil. May this be a meeting that will be civil and, Lord, be held in such a way that it will give honor to you. And God, we just want to thank you and praise you for what you're about to do and how you're going to bless this county. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please honor the American flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now honor the Texas flag. I
honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, everybody be seated. All right, item number 4, discussion, action on a request from Bobby Cheshire, Commissioner, Precinct 4, to have the official court record in the minutes amended from the January 10th, 2019 Commissioners Court regarding the vote on item number 4. Mr. Cheshire wants it to reflect him abstaining from voting on the item of adding a public forum.
This is something that we had visited earlier, and I'd asked the court to, or the court had asked to go back and review the video to make sure, that they had was secure. I don't know, if they did or not, but I'd like to make a motion to have the record amended to reflect the vote that I abstained.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to address the amendment. Is there a second?
I'd like to get the county attorney's opinion on it before we voted on it.
All right, well, we really need a second before we proceed forward, and then we can get the county attorneys. But we need to get a second first.
I second it.
Okay, second it.
Morning, Judge, Commissioner.
Good morning.
As I understand it, there's a motion to amend the minutes to accurately reflect Commissioner Cheshire's actions on January the 10th, 2019.
Correct.
I looked at it a little bit previously, and it's my opinion the court does have the authority and power to amend minutes to accurately reflect the actions of the court at a previous meeting. And so beyond that, I don't have, I guess, a lot of guidance. The court, as I said, does have authority to do so. It's just simply a determination of whether the minutes as presented are not completely accurate at this time. So.
Right. Thank you. Court?
Kerry, are we following the rules of parliamentary procedure or whatever by doing that? I seek some legal advice as well, and they're saying if you're affirmative, if you're not affirmative or you're not negative, then you did abstain. I don't know if Angelina County's changed anything over the course of years.
Well, one of the issues is, as I see it, is that the court actually is, to the best of my knowledge, has never actually adopted specific voting rules for use during their meetings. A lot of a lot of courts use or have adopted Robert's rules, or you can have your own rules. But I've gone back and looked with the county clerk, and we've found no record that there's ever been any rules actually adopted. Although, just historically, it appears the court mostly follows Robert's Rules of Order in its voting procedures. But so, I guess that's one of the issues, is that there's really no specific written rules to fall back on to determine how the vote was actually conducted. So, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, so if you don't yea or nay either way, you've abstained. Is that what y'all are telling me?
I guess I'm saying I can't tell you exactly what that means, because we don't have any specific rules on that. Traditionally, in the statutes, the only thing about abstentions that I'm aware of are in circumstance where a commissioner has an interest in a business or land. If they're going to abstain, they're required to actually file an affidavit before the meeting indicating they're abstaining from the vote. And I think traditionally, in most cases where somebody's going to abstain, they would announce that at the time or prior to the actual vote. But so, as far as the issue of if somebody does not voice any vote, whether that's an abstention or a no vote or a yes vote, I can't really give you much guidance on that.
Yeah. Okay.
In the future, if we have something that's gonna be contested, I'll call for a vote from each commissioner to clarify, but the way it's always been done in the past is, everybody votes together.
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay.
And
what's your
the
pleasure?
vote,
guys?
as I understand it, was recorded as 4-0.
Right.
Ms. Venture. And Commissioner Cheshire is indicating that he intended to abstain.
I didn't vote for or against.
Okay.
He did not say anything, but there was not a comment making him abstain, but I do think that his intention was to do that from his earlier comments when he was talking about it.
So I guess that just gets us back to the issue of the court does have the power to amend those minutes if you feel like that was the true intention and the actual vote at that occasion.
Okay.
That's what I was concerned about too, if the court could legally change the minutes, but apparently
We can't.
it's true,
They
we can't.
can, as long as it's to correct an inaccuracy in the minutes. You can't just change them for any reason, but if there's something inaccurately reflected, you can, by majority vote, could decide to correct those minutes.
All right.
Any other questions?
That will be the issue, is there something inaccurately reflected in the minutes at this point?
Any other questions? All right. We have a first and a second on the floor. Do we need to go to a one per commissioner vote, or can we all vote together?
I think we can all vote together, maybe.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Court.
Number 5, appearance of Michael G. Parker, Reverend Jr. and Associates, to discuss and request approval of the final plat of the Connors Egg Farm Road subdivision, Lot 4, revised in Precinct 3.
Thank you, Judge. This is one of the lots that had been previously platted of 6.89 acres that somebody bought and now wishes to cut off a 1.82 acre over on the west side. So this is a 2-lot minor plat. It's still got the road easement on it. It's still got the drainage utility easement on it. This is, and of course, Commissioner Pitt's precinct, and I have visited with him about it, and will entertain any questions or ask your approval.
I don't see any problem with it, and I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Sally has the originals.
Thank you. appearance of Tim Allen, American Interpower, to discuss the renewal of a contract to extend the electric power provider for Angelina County.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Actually, I had started this conversation back with Judge Suter numerous months ago. A couple things happened last year in 2018. There were 3 large lignite coal power plants shut down in Texas. It reduced our generation reserve margins from 18 down to 8%. I started with TXU back in 1980. I've never seen it get below 12% in all of that time. I approached Judge Suter and said, we actually saw prices from February to about October for a small commercial business more than double last year. But your contract doesn't expire until July of 2020. And I was showing him that even though the first couple years have some extremely high prices, the further out you go, there's actually still some sweet spots out there. So we started looking at, did it make sense for the county to extend the contract? During that time, your first sheet here is, that's a natural gas chart. We went into this winter with one of the lowest natural gas storage levels I've seen since 2001 when deregulation started and I started paying attention to the natural gas charts. So we kind of postponed it, hoping that the gas rates would come down. You can see at the far right side of the chart, the gas prices have come down. The second page that you have, if the top row in the middle, that one's labeled ERCOT. What those are power curves for each calendar year. And if you'll notice, each year that further in the future, the lower the prices get. It's just kind of an illustration of what's trending out there in the market. Then a couple weeks ago, met with the new judge, explained what we'd been doing, and at that, we had just also got word at that time they're going to close 2 more coal plants this year, and then a small old gas-fired plant it's just old, and they're going to mothball it. There's a good chance our reserves are going to drop below 6% this summer. It wouldn't surprise me if we have a hot summer that sustains 100-degree temperature across the state for any period of time, you may see some rolling blackouts this summer. But with that, what you have before you now with the pricing sheet, there's 16 providers that sent in proposals. These are rates that would begin after your contract expires in July of 2020. And if you'll notice under the 12-month category, going out, the further out you go, the lower the prices get. And I've highlighted in red the provider that has the lowest price for that term. In fact, another thing that's happened in the market is when deregulation first started, a 5-year deal was about all you could get from today's date. They're going, these providers now can price out to 2028, which the market's starting to mature that much. Now, you'll notice some of the providers can't go out that far. A lot of that has to do with credit, kind of technically behind the scene. Like if you signed a deal that went out 2028, that provider has to make a financial commitment to that point. So some of the providers can only go out to a certain point, and that's why you see the pricing maybe stop at the 36 or the 60-month term. But if you'll notice, there's some rates there. Like right now, your current rate is 4.72 cents. You'll notice there's a lot of terms there that you can go below 4 cents. I think that's an opportunity that I wanted to bring before you. I don't know if you'll ever see pricing like this again. I mean, theoretically, it could drop below that, but, you know, there's got to be a bottom somewhere. But these are some very nice savings for the county. You could secure your budget for 95 extra months if you wanted to out there at an extremely low price. Any questions so far?
I might mention too that there's been other providers that have come and talked to us, talked to myself, and most of the other providers have not been able to run out this far in the future. And the ones that see the rates, I haven't heard anything back from them later once they see this lower rate out for 7 years. And if Tim's crystal ball is working like it's supposed to, it could be a pretty good deal. Of course, you know.
This may be the last time I look like a hero before the court,
Okay.
but
I want to borrow that crystal ball.
When you talk about coal and natural gas, what percentage? I mean, is it like a 50-50 that determines? Because, you know, coal looks like it's headed down, but we got a lot of natural gas.
got a lot of that. You know, I can remember when coal was the leading producer of electricity in the state of Texas. Gas is now. You're going to be shocked. The number 2 provider in the state of Texas is wind, which is very fortunate for us. When they built all the wind plants out in West Texas, the biggest problem we had was we had to build 4 large transmission lines in order to transport power both ways, because when the wind's not blowing and the oil industry is booming, we had to ship a lot that way, but when the wind's blowing, we needed to ship a lot this way, and so they've accomplished that. Coal has dropped down. One of the last numbers, it was down in the 20%. A lot of the federal regulations now require them to go back and either change that or add more scrubbers. The companies that own those coal plants, I don't think want to invest that money anymore. We have found an abundance of natural gas, and for whatever reason, the EPA deems natural gas as a clean source, even though it does have emissions. They deem it cleaner than some of the other fuels.
Tim, the spiking in about 4 years, from what I'm hearing and what I'm studying, is that it's not going to be a lack of natural gas, it's a lack of production because of the catch-up. Producers aren't going to be able to produce enough natural gas 3 and 4 years from now to keep up with the demand, because there's a tremendous supply and a tremendous demand, and it will take longer to get past that demand. Is that correct?
It is, and one of the other immediate issues the gas industry is having, even though they found some new fields, is their infrastructure, the pipeline. They can't move the gas where they need it. It was the same thing we had on the electricity side, but we built the transmission lines. And I was surprised we really didn't get a lot of resistance building the transmission lines. For some reason, when you want to bury a pipe in the ground, it tends to take a little longer. There's people more concerned with pipelines. So I think they've got a very interesting road in front of them, but they do have to build some more pipelines in order to move the gas where we need it within the state. But it's definitely a challenge, and it makes sense, you know, if the demand's there and you can't get it shipped where you need it, I would anticipate prices going higher. Everything we're hearing on the electricity side is pointing toward these rates going up over the next couple of years. If you're having to renew your residential right now, you're seeing a pretty good increase over what your old contract was. It's at least 10%, if not 15 or 20% higher if you have to renew right now on the residential side. That's kind of a different animal than what a commercial contract is. But that all reflects the supply and demand of power immediately.
There's only 2 companies that are actually going out the full 7 years. Who is MP2?
They're a Houston-based company. I know they have both the city of Diboll and Diboll ISD, and going out that far. We've dealt with them for a long time. They've actually been purchased out by Calpine. Calpine actually also bought out Champion Energy, which is y'all's current provider right now. So that's kind of where they're getting their financial backing.
Okay. And TXU has still the best rate out that far. So.
Yes. And Constellation, if you notice in the shorter terms, actually had the best ones up through 60. They can go that far out, but we gave them plenty of notice. They never did get the upper management approval. I was disappointed not to see them because they might have had
Better rate.
a real good offer there, but you can only lead them to the trough.
So if I understand this right, 10 years from now, we would actually be paying less than we're paying today
Yes, sir.
if we lock into this.
A lot less.
A lot less.
Even with the, we don't have any projected growth in the county, but even with our, if we add on other services.
The contract has no limitations on your kilowatt hour usage.
Okay.
If you do need to add a meter or whatever in the future, we can actually get TXU to add some, like 10% add to lead. It'll move the price a little bit, but if you'd like, we can add that. Or we can just address each meter issue as it is. If it's a small one, I can tell you they'll just add it to the contract, not worry about it. But like if you doubled the size of the jail and put a new meter out there, they might want to contract that separately.
Okay.
But all the existing meters would be billed at this, so any additions would be a small percentage there.
Meters that aren't active right now but are still on the books,
Yes, yes,
they would still be included in this?
Yes.
Because they're an existing meter.
that is correct.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. That's all
Any
the
other
question I have. I make a motion that we move forward with American Energy, Empowerment Energy Services.
All right, and go with the contract with TXU Energy?
Yes, sir. Do we have to authorize you to sign that contract?
We can.
We do, okay.
Okay.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right. Discussion, action to select an engineering firm for the 2019-2020 Cdbg grant program. Amy, you were there and took notes on that. Do you have your notes ready?
I have who the proposals were received from, and then our scoring sheet,
Right.
and then the proposals.
We had the group get together, and we took notes. We took, this grant program is a grant program that can actually be some money if the program actually is accepted. But you have to accept an engineering firm to actually put together the figures for the grant program before it can even be turned in, submitted for a grant. So we looked at all of the different engineers, scored, and they were all good. They were all good, reputable engineers, but we ended up, let's see here. Terry, you remember?
Good one last year.
Yeah, good one.
Davis one.
Laster, oh, right here, yeah. Goodwin, Laster, and Strong was the one that actually scored the highest by just a few points. And so we decided to go ahead and accept them as the official engineering firm for this 19 to 2020 grant program.
I make a
Need a
motion,
motion?
I make a motion to accept Goodwin Laster for the 2019-2020 TX Cdbg program.
Second.
All right. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, discussion and action for the county judge to select a committee that will begin reviewing the proposal to make a recommendation to the commissioners for lease of the farmer's market at the regular court meeting dating February 26th. That's gonna be the next, meeting. We're gonna actually just select a committee now to review the proposals that have come in. Understand that there may be another one. The committee will actually be made up of several commissioners, whoever wants to be on it, I'm assuming.
Well, we can't have three. We're gonna have two.
Right.
I nominate, Mr. Kermit Kennedy.
All right. Be good. And another one?
Mr. Greg
Pitts?
Harris, or
That'll be fine.
Terry Pitts.
All right, Mr. Terry Pitts, all right. All right. Yeah, we'll go ahead and establish that and take care of that. We don't necessarily need any action right now, other than the fact of accept the action that we're gonna nominate the committee.
So moved.
So moved. All right. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. All right. Number 9, discussion actions, request from the county judge, Don Linbury, to assign the Angelina County Board of Adjustment to address the final plat of the Barbie subdivision in Precinct 1 as it was presented by Goodwin Laster Strong during the regular January 22, 2019 Commissioners Court. We addressed this thing pretty hard. Commissioner Harrison, why don't you touch on this again, because you were the one that had the biggest question about it.
Well, the only question I had on this was, I mean, we have a subdivision rule, I know that for a fact. But the subdivision rule is, it's, the way I see it is for, your, sewer systems.
Yes.
And, you know, to make sure you have plenty of property to put a sewer system in. But this, I mean, they're buying this little over half acre to put a water tower on it.
Right.
And the only reason, you know, I would even say it would be good because but you stop and think about something, you're not sure if there'll ever be a water tower put on it. So what would they do with it then? They may put a house on it. I don't know. You know, I can't answer what they're gonna do. So the thing about it is, I think we need to go back and look at it like you're talking about doing with the,
Variance committee.
the variance committee, and let them make a decision on it, then we'll back whatever they say. So, that's my,
Is that not something that can be took care of with deed restrictions?
In the past, the county has a variance committee that addresses situations like this. When you've got for the public that's not aware of this, this is a slightly smaller lot that was gonna be used to put a water tower on to extend the central water system, basically is what it was about. And it did not meet the county's minimum size lot situation, and the only way to actually get it legally done, I've met with the county attorney and myself, and we've talked about this situation, is to actually put it before a variance committee to actually make an adjustment to this one-time lot, because each time you do this, it's a one-only decision.
right. So I mean, what are you needing us to do today?
go ahead and approve that we move this item and go ahead and turn it over to the Board of Adjustment and let them meet and make the final decision on it.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 10, discussion action on awarding bids for roads, Road and Bridge number 4 to sell the following: a 2001 cab 350 cab and chassis with flatbed, 178,000 miles, 2016 Cat 12 M3 motor grader, all-wheel drive, 1,800 hours, and a 2016 Cat 12 M3 motor grader, all-wheel drive, 2,000 hours. Commissioner?
Yes, we went out for bids. We opened the bids Friday. Ms. Fincher has a copy of the bids, and if she can read those to the court, then we can decide which bids we will accept.
I don't have a copy of the bids. I guess Debbie has those, but I have the amounts and
Okay,
who,
yeah, the highest amounts on, who received the highest amount on the F-150, I'm sorry, F-350, 2001? And for how
So-
much?
Curtis McKnight, $1,510.
We'll accept that bid. And the highest bids on the 2 motor graders,
Mustang Cat, $188,000.
each,
Yes.
we'll accept those bids. I make a motion to court to accept those bids.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Number 11, appearance of Sharon Shaw, Administrator, Angelina County City and Health District, to give a presentation on the Angelina County and City's Health District 2018 Public Health Annual Report. Ms. Shaw? Good morning.
Good morning, thank you. So I brought some materials to each of the county commissioners this morning, and I also have extras for our audience if anyone would like to follow along with what I'm presenting today. I will leave the rest at that. Get as much mileage out of this as I can this morning. Pack of documents. Appreciate the opportunity to come today. We're very excited about our first annual report to present. I want to welcome Judge Limbury to our county, as county judge.
Thank you.
Spent a little time with him last week visiting our facility, was very pleased about that. My staff says thank you. I want to extend a thank you to Mr. Timmons, who did serve on our Board of Health for over 20 years. Appreciate his service. I know he's glad to be moving on to other activities. And Mr. Cheshire is now our Board of Health representative, and he'll be getting up to speed with the Health District and having his first meeting this month. So we put together our first ever annual report. Your Health District has been here in Angelina County since 1967, serving our community, and want to take an opportunity to not only tell the story, but show the story in pictures and words. We've served over 36,000 unique East Texans since 2008, when we put our electronic medical records in. That's when we were able to capture data. So 36,000 individuals have accessed some service at the Health District since 2008. Add that since 1967, and our numbers exponentially go up. I want to talk about one of our signature programs, which is the primary health care program, which is funded by Angelina County property tax dollars in part, and also state grants from the Texas Department of State Health Services. You can see just for 2018, we provided 60,000 services at a cost per service of $87.83. That's a pretty good healthcare service when you can have a comprehensive healthcare exam, treatment, prescriptions, referrals, et cetera, for $87. So that's lower than the state average for primary health care services in our business. 5,000 unique patients served through the clinic. And you can see our breakdown here from adults and children, 66% adults and 34% children. We're really busy growing our children's healthcare program. We've added a pediatric nurse practitioner when a very large Medicaid practice closed in town about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years, and we absorbed her, and she brought a pediatric patient load with us of Medicaid children. So we're very excited to provide that service because there was going to be a gap in the community for those kids. You can see the prescriptions written in 1 year, 18,177 prescriptions written, the majority filled at the health district in our pharmacy. There should be no reason why an individual in Angelina County that needs a chronic disease medication or a life-sustaining medication can't get that medicine. They need to come to the health district and let us help them figure out a way to get their medication if they're having a problem. And this is in great partnership with our local medical community, our physicians, and both of our hospitals. Pharmacy assistance program, you can see $34 million of donated medications over the last 15 years. We've all seen those commercials on TV where it talks about if you have difficulty getting your prescription and it gives you a little sentence at the bottom of the screen. Well, the health district maximizes that to the utmost, and we apply for these free medication programs for all of our patients that qualify. And we average $2 to $3 million a year being sent in the mail to the health district to be unpacked and put on the shelf for Angelina County residents, and that are those that are being discharged from our hospitals. WIC program, signature program all over the country. This is a federal program. This puts not only money back into our grocery stores, moms, children, dads, they use their benefits and go to the grocery stores and help buy formula, fruits and vegetables, milks, cheeses, whole wheat bread, beans, peanut butter, those good nutritious items for growing children. So it puts money back into our Walmarts, our Brookshires, our H-E-B, but it also helps our kids. They get a nutritionist who spends time with them. They get on the track of eating healthy, and great program that we're able to offer to our community. Angelina County Connects, that's basically the door into the health district. Individuals may come say, I need some health care, or I need food, or I need clothing, or I need housing, or I'm having problems with transportation to a medical provider, say at Andy Anderson, or something like that. This program, with case managers and a Medicaid worker on site, helps individuals link to our food banks, to the Brazos Transit, to MD Anderson, Texas Children's, things like that, and also to get into services such as the Angelina County Indigent Program, Angelina County Health District, primary health care, put them on Title V, put them on Medicaid, affirmed to the VA. So it's a fabulous, fabulous service that we're able to offer. So please keep that in mind as you're in your community, in your church, in your service groups, that we have a service that we can help individuals. And then on the back of our report, just break down the numbers for you. Our operational revenues, you can see county and cities, 2% of our revenues. That's the Angelina County, Lufkin, Diboll, Hudson, Huntington, and Zavala that all contribute to the health district. And then our tax referendum money, which is all of our property tax, goes to lower income individuals for primary health care. Providing chronic disease education, promoting physical activity with partners, and then some of our other programs at the bottom, children's and adults immunizations, still giving flu shots. For those that haven't had your flu shot, see your doctor or come see us, because it's ticking up. If you've seen, some schools have been closing and we still have flu. Infectious disease screenings, environmental consumer health. Yes, we're still inspecting our restaurants and our food service and our nursing homes and hospitals and schools to make sure that we're safe here in Angelina County. And then we are considered a public health first responder. I see Ricky in the audience. We're good partners with the county and work together so we can address emergencies as they arrive. We have a full trained staff who can stand up a clinic or a pod site at a moment's notice, so we're very fortunate. I also gave commissioners another document for you to take back to your office, to your precinct, an Angelina County Connects card, just to keep close to your desk, and an interagency brochure. These are published by the coalition here in town, and it's got a listing of every resource in the community for food, transportation, housing, education, child welfare, et cetera, et cetera. So those are available from the coalition. You pick them up at the health district. I left a few in the back. I'd be glad to answer any questions. We appreciate our partnership with our cities and counties, and we are one of the best known and very well operated and supported health districts in the state of Texas.
I was amazed at the outreach of the health district and the things that they did that I didn't realize as many things as they spread out and did for Angelina County. That doesn't just hit just in this county, but I was also impressed with the operation. It is an outstanding operation out
Thank you,
there.
sir.
Very impressed.
Thank you.
Good job for the people that are less fortunate, and
Okay, thank you for
do a
your
good
time.
job. Any of y'all have any questions?
I don't have any question. I make a motion to approve the report.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a first and second. Thank you, Ms. Shaw. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Number 12, discussion action on a request from Gary Letney, Airport Manager, to request Commissioners Court approval of an additional date, which will be Friday, September the 27th, as the air show practice date for the Air Fest to be held on the 28th and 29th, 2019 at Angelina County Airport.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hey, as far as the public air show, the 28th, 29th is that, but the 27th, as far as the airport concerned, is just as big a date as it is a practice day where we have to close the airspace. And then after dark, there's a sponsor event that they have that would close the airspace again. So thought it would be wise just to add this date to the official record and approval.
So that was the date we discussed last time, and it said that, well, it'd be took care of for 1 or 2 or 3 hours or something, and
Well, we decided since it wasn't included on the motion last time that it was better to come back to court and do
Okay.
it, yeah.
Airport
And,
Manager was concerned that it could come back later since it wasn't actually approved by the
Right.
court. He wanted to make sure, and I said, sure, no problem. If you've got a concern about it, we'll go ahead and get it approved.
Yeah,
So
it
moved.
is part of the air show, it's just not part of the public air
I
show.
make a motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
All right, we have 2 seconds. I guess that makes it 4. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Gary. All right, number 13, discussion action on a request from Joe Martin, District Attorney, for a grant application under the Federal Violence Against Women Act as administered by the Governor's Criminal Justice Division. The purpose of the grant is to improve the criminal justice system's response to violent crime against women, including domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. Good morning.
Thank you, Judge. I think most of you are, or all of you are aware of the difficulties that the District Attorney's Office works under as far as staffing and just the space that we have and just the massive amount of work that we have to do. Those concerns were matters of great hesitancy for me in whether I sought this job a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now. And they continue. I think some of the things that have increased and caused some of those difficulties that have, well, they've actually existed for quite a while, are just the massive numbers of or amount of evidence that we have to process. As more people have cell phones and more police have body cameras and more police have digital dash cameras, or we download people's cell phones to get their text messages or to do other things, and we've got all photos, those are all evidence that we have to process. Under a recent law, we have to not just process it, we have to analyze it, and we have to provide to the defense attorney any notice of exculpatory or mitigating information that's in there, and we have to document that we did all those things. Probably a fourth of my time on a case is spent in documenting that I've done the stuff that the law now requires me to do, as far as making sure I help the defense attorney do his job or her job. There's also been the growth in the different police departments. We have more police departments now, with a lot of the schools having police departments. The Lufkin Police Department has added more officers. Not every agency has added more officers, but that creates a good bit of work. The 2 grants that I'm asking for would enable me to add 3 persons or 3 slots. One would be for an investigator, another one for an additional assistant district attorney, and then a victim assistance coordinator. As far as investigators, we have 1 investigator for 6 attorneys. Generally, for rural prosecution offices, and it's the way it was when I worked in Polk County, you had 1 investigator for every 2 attorneys. Now, a district attorney investigator doesn't do the same thing. It's not a detective. It's not what an investigator with a police agency does. They basically work on keeping track of our witnesses or finding witnesses who've scattered the kingdom come since the offense occurred, running the criminal histories of our witnesses that we have to provide to the defense attorney, running the criminal history, of course, of our offenders, obtaining documents from other counties for their past misdeeds, and processing all the grand jury subpoenas we have to do to get those things like cell phone records and medical records and all the things like that. Adding an investigator would assist us tremendously in that. Of course, obviously, adding another prosecutor would be of assistance. Those 2 would come under the Violence Against Women's Act. I think you pick up the newspaper every day. You know the vast amount of crimes that we have against women, whether it's domestic assault or child sex crimes, which are almost always against females. Those would assist in prosecution and investigation of those cases. Under and those grants, what we call the VAWA grant, Violence Against Women Act, is funded at 71% by the grant that comes from federal money. The other grant is VACA, Victims of Crimes Act, and that is 80% funded. The law requires us to have a victim assistance coordinator. The law requires every prosecutor's office to do that, and we accomplished that. And the way we accomplished that years ago is that simply we gave somebody who already had a job a title of victim assistance coordinator. So I'd love to tell you we do a great job of victim assistance coordination, and we don't. What a victim assistance coordinator is supposed to do is to be able to help that victim through the process, keep them informed of where they are. There's forms to be filed with the Crime Victims Compensation Fund. There are victim impact statements that they can file with the court, and just keep in contact with them. And we don't do a really good job, especially in child victim cases, of getting that contact with the victim started when the case starts and continuing on through. And neither with domestic assaults. You know, there's probably 80% of the women who are victims of domestic violence end up wanting to drop the charges, and some of that's because they're isolated and they're out there, they're not getting any support from us. You know, we'll call them and tell them when it's time to show up for court, but as far as being there with them, helping them understand the process, having a dedicated victim assistance coordinator would be a tremendous help in that. What this basically comes down to is, with these grants, what the county would basically be doing is paying a little bit more than what the benefits are for these positions, and for that we would be able to fund 3 positions. Those contributions from the county would be made on a monthly basis. It's not a lump sum type basis. It would be part of the, obviously part of the pay. And the question is, where are you going to put them, Joe? Because we got a courthouse that's busting at the seams. We do have some I mean, it sounds a little strange, but we do have some larger closets. The other thing that I had thought about is we've got a law library that takes up quite a bit of room with physical books that are not kept up to date anymore. I don't know many lawyers that use books. I can't remember the last time I actually went into a law library and opened a book. You do your research online, so that space that is used for that law library, if we wanted to keep a law library, I think could be translated into 1 or 2 computer terminals that take up a lot less space. Judge Limbury has said that there are 2 or 3 offices over at the Denman building that are not being used. That would not be ideal for us to be separated by, I don't know what that is, 2 blocks. But
that wouldn't be secure for your department, would it?
Wouldn't be what?
That wouldn't be secure for your department.
Not unless they carry handguns. Which some of us do, yeah.
Just for clarification, I was gonna say that the bond application is actually gonna be done in-house. In
Yes,
other
sir.
words, y'all are gonna do the bond application, and at this time, there's no funds from the county because there's not gonna be any expense at this time.
Right.
Once the applications are made, if in fact they are approved, then at that time, the county would be looking at a small matching fund at that time. And we don't know exactly what that will be because it will have to come back to the court to approve any expenditures. But right now, we're asking for permission to actually apply for these grants, and that's all being done in the DA's office himself.
And you may wonder, why haven't you been here before with that? And I can tell you, I took office in 2017. The deadline for applying for those is in February. So when I first took office and had no transition help from the prior district attorney, that in 2017, that deadline was passed before I knew about it. And as far as last year, just the tremendous amount of work that you're doing. Sometimes when you're knee deep in alligators, it's difficult to drain the swamp. We have a real benefit this year in that I was able to hire Stephanie Stroud, who's here. She was the former first assistant district attorney in Walker County, and she is a person who knows how to write grant applications, and that's not the only reason I hired her, but it's a very helpful thing, and she actually is the one doing this, and I think she may have some things as far as the actual mechanics of the grants to talk to you about.
All right. Welcome. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Stephanie Stroud. I'm a prosecutor over at the DA's office. And the one thing I wanted to make clear, and I think it's important for the court to understand with these types of grants, at this point, we've presented a resolution. Those resolutions are required to be part of the application. And essentially what that resolution from the court says is that you agree, should we be granted a grant, that will follow the rules, which means we use the funds properly, we use them as they're intended to be used. And before, and one other thing to make clear is when we do these grant applications, I was always taught as a little girl, you ask for the sky and just see what happens. You ask for a lot of things. There's no guarantee that we're gonna get what we ask for. We may get partial funding, we may get one position and not another position, and so generally what happens is after these applications are scored, they'll let us know what's available, and then it's up to Mr. Martin and the court to decide what you want to accept, and at that time, that would be when we would know what the exact match would be for the funds that are accepted. These grants are also renewable. That's a question people always ask. You apply for a 1-year grant. At the end of that year, some of them are 2-year renewable, which means you can then apply every 2 years as opposed to every year to renew them. Some of them are just 1-year grants and you have to apply to renew every year. The renewal process is much simpler than the initial application process. They do like to track your stats and your numbers to make sure that you're using the money correctly. But those are just some things I wanted to clear up, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Have you already written the proposal?
I am in the process of writing the proposal. It is a very long, it seems like a very simple process. It would seem like you would just say, we need help. It's not. You have to create your own tracking mechanism, so you kind of have to tell them, this is what we plan to do,
Right.
because that's how they create your tracking stats for you to report back to them. So, for example, if you tell them that you believe you're gonna have contact with 55 victims of domestic violence at a felony level, that's your target. And then they kind of monitor how close to your target goal you reach. So you kind of have to give them some explanation for why you need that help and what you plan to do with it. So I'm in the process. The grant applications are actually due on February 28th. The process is we submit the application. Once it's completed, it's then scored by the Deep East Texas Council of Government Board. They score those and then present them to the governor's office. And then once they're approved, they come back. And there's sort of a whole mechanism that goes on there. And there will be people from all over the region applying for the same pool of money. And so they score them, and then based on your scoring, it determines whether you're 100% funded or partially funded or funded at all.
Right.
And when would you expect to know that?
They've given us some dates. I'll tell you, my experience is that those dates are very fluid. They have to schedule some board meetings, but generally you know fairly soon after they've been scored. So May, June is usually when you know, and I don't know the exact dates for DETCOG. I'm new here, so I don't know exactly what their dates are, but you generally know well in advance. And the start dates for the grants are whatever you choose to make them. Some of them you're allowed to start as early as September. Some of them you can't start until October 1st because that's the fiscal year. So most of them we just start October 1st because that seems to be consistent across the state.
So actually, the start of the grant would be toward the end of the year.
Yes, sir. And I believe I've written both of these for October, just for continuity, to start them October 1st, and they would fund October 1st to September 30th.
Two separate grants, so there'd be two separate boards probably reviewing those.
It's all the same. It's
Oh, is
just
it?
two different pools of money. And the
Okay.
reason they do that is because the VOCA grant, which is the grant we're asking for a victims assistance coordinator out of, has some restrictions on what you're allowed to spend that money on personnel-wise. You can spend it for a victims assistance coordinator, but you can't spend it for an investigator or a prosecutor. So you have to be careful that you meet the requirements of the grant and what that money is actually allowed for.
And what we're looking at is just like a one-year grant to start.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then y'all have a chance to go back.
And then you can renew it every year,
Okay.
and then you may get funded, you may not.
Right.
But traditionally, these grants, because of the nature of the grants, as long as the federal money doesn't run out or they don't do something with the federal money, they're generally pretty easy to renew.
Okay.
So if you hired somebody on these grants, you would have to let them know up front that this is a year-to-year.
And those positions are generally advertised as grant positions. I can tell you that folks in our business that do what we do know what grant
They know it's
positions are and know what that means. But you know, a lot of times people are familiar with grant programs and how they work, and that's usually not an issue.
I make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a first and a second on the floor. Any other questions?
Is this on 13 or 14? Or just-
I'm sorry?
just gonna do
Oh,
both
no,
of them
this
at one
is,
time, or what?
This is actually number 13. We're gonna roll right into 14,
Okay, go
which
ahead.
is basically the same thing, but.
Yeah, but I just need to,
All in favor on the first one, item 13?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. Number 14 is basically, we've already discussed it, discussion and action on a request from Joe Martin, District Attorney, for a grant application under the Federal Victims of Crime Act as administered by the Governor's Criminal Justice Division. The purpose of the grant is to provide services and assistance to victims of crime, speed to recovery, and aid them through the criminal justice process. That's why the selection is so critical on that one. Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 15. appearance of Amy Fincher, County Clerk, to discuss and request approval of rules for the official public records from the Angelina County Clerk.
So this is just a set of rules that I would like to put in place for the official public records. We currently do not have any, and we've never had any. It's never really been a problem, but if you've been in my office lately, there's 20-plus people in there daily researching records, and our deed room, you know, is not a real large room. We only have a certain amount of computers and indexes that, you know, people are having to wait for other people to get through with them. So I came up with these rules. I did have Mr. Kirby look at them. We made a few changes, and he didn't see a problem with any of them.
Make a motion to approve the rules.
Second.
All right, we have a first and second. Any more questions?
Good, I did look in on Ms. Fincher, and everything looked to be in order to me.
All right.
I agree, it's probably a good thing to get them in place, got a lot of people in there, and
Right.
try to head off any problems before they go.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions?
No, sir, I'm good.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 16, discussion action on approval of bonds for Greg Sanchez, County Sheriff, Tom Selman Jr., Constable Precinct 1, Trey Trevathan, Constable Precinct 2, Chad Wilson, Constable Precinct 3, and Ray Anthony, Constable Precinct number 4. This is an annual thing. These bonds are very important. Any questions?
Motion.
Y'all?
Second.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 17, discussion action on request from Road and Bridge number 4, permission to assist the City of Diboll and Diboll Civic Club in the 2019 Operation Clean Sweep, which is scheduled for Saturday, April 27th, 2019. Commissioner?
Thank y'all for allowing me to address this with the court. I'd like to introduce Ms. Fran McLean, First Lady of Diboll. And she is headed up this civic club in conjunction with the City of Diboll. This is something that we've participated in the past. It is very similar to what we do for the City of Zavala, the Zavala Trash Off, and Ms. McLean will be happy to answer any of your questions about what they do and things like this. As far as Precinct 4 goes, I usually, I work with a group, whoever assigns me to go work somewhere. I think I've worked with several different groups, including the probation department and things like that. And I believe District Attorney has worked at Operation Clean Sweep with us before as well. And it's a good civic project, and it does a lot of good for the community. And I'll allow Ms. McLean to explain.
Yes, Fran McLean. I'm the chairman for Operation Clean Sweep and have been for the past 5 years. Could I introduce the people that are with me?
Please do.
Well, okay, we have Miss Jimmy Woodard. She is our president of the Diboll Civic Club and very active in our Operation Clean Sweep. Mr. Berlin Wilkerson, he is part of our Diboll Civic Club, and he actually goes out and evaluates our houses for us that are nominated. Extremely important. And we have Mr. Steve Jackson, who is the vice president for our Civic Club and also a member of our committee. I brought some information for you. It's an annual project that we've been doing since 2014. It was a program in Angelina County back in the 90s. I don't know if any of you remember this, but Angelina Beautiful Clean and Diboll Beautification Committee at that time, every other year, we sponsored the Operation Clean Sweep for 6 years. When our Diboll Civic Club formed in 2013, we decided we wanted to bring back the program because it is such a vital part of our community. Each year, we average working on homes for elderly and disabled. They have to be homeowners first of all, but usually we work on around 20 houses. We usually have about 300 volunteers that work on their program. And I gave you a list of the businesses, churches, and organizations that help with our project, and we usually have at least 40 to 50 of those that help in some way, either in-kind donations or monetary donations. Basically, our funding comes from individual donations and a large donation from Georgia Pacific. The county, as Mr. Cheshire had said, has been a very important part of our program by both presenting and providing teams for us, and also a very important part of collecting and disposing of our waste. On our larger projects, which might be a roofing project or a total cleanup of a yard that is just beyond trashed out, the big roll-off containers, I believe that's what they're called, have been a tremendous help because we couldn't bag it all up. We do things from as small as maybe building a ramp to a total roof replacement. So our projects are varied. We do some yard work. We have all ages. We have usually junior high age through about age 70 or 80 helping with this project. And we also do this each year in conjunction with the Texas Trash Off. We pick the same date to do the trash off where the litter prevention for the Keep Texas Beautiful. I'll be glad to answer any questions. We would like for your support. Again, this is no actual dollars from taxpayers or the county, just an in-kind help for us.
Just for clarification for the court, is there, Commissioner Cheshire, would you clarify any labor and what equipment will be used?
The equipment that be used would be dumpsters, or dump truck, or type of truck that hauls dump trailer.
Right.
Basically, and the labor's been provided by me.
Okay. All right.
We would really encourage.
Questions?
I have none.
All right. Motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your
Good
support.
luck with your project.
Thank you, thank you. And we have another meeting to get to, if you don't mind if we leave.
Sure.
Thank you.
Not a problem. All right, item 18, discussion and action on a request from Angelina County Landfill for permission to advertise for bids for the construction of sectors J1 and K1 liners. I know how much you like to come up front.
Questions? That says it all right there.
Chuck, are these liners, is this a new section you started, or is
Track
this
2, yes.
finishing an old section?
Track 2, the only reason we're naming them J and I, JI and KI, because we're only able to build part of J and part of K currently.
Right.
Because of that leachate pond still needs to be moved.
Right.
But all I'm asking for today is go out for permissions to build those 2 sections, and then we'll have to come back and open bids after we advertise 15 days.
What's the timetable on getting the pond moved? That's gotta be moved.
We gotta have a place to put it first. You never know.
Just weather?
If we open bids in 15 days and we can't get a contractor in here till 2021 to move it, it's gonna be that long.
Okay.
I mean, you never know.
A motion to approve on it.
Second.
All right.
If nobody goes out for bids on this, I mean, it's next month, we'll be back in here asking to go out for bids again. I mean, you just never
Right.
know.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thanks,
that bid
sir.
includes moving the pond? The bid,
No,
this bid here don't include
No.
moving.
We're going around the pond right now, because I need a place to put garbage.
Okay.
Building those two, KI and KJ, right? KI and KJ? Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna start on J, and as soon as we get J done, we're gonna move to K, get
Yeah.
K done. We're gonna try to get all that done this year, and yes, I have included moving the pond in this year's budget, but there is no guarantee we'll even get a bid on it.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't know yet.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion action number 19 on a 2018 budget transfer for the Angelina County Jail. Transfer from contingency, $30,000 to inmate medical, $30,000.
Motion to approve. It's 18, right? Right? 18 budget?
It is, this was the carryover.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was
that's-
making sure of. Yep.
Yeah, that's been discussed before. We just didn't know for sure how much
Right.
at that time.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the transfer. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Discussion action number 20 on 2018 budget transfer on Road Bridge number 1. Transfer from supply parts 166538 to Hardtop Road 166538.
Let me go ahead and explain.
You
We
bet.
had, at the end of last year, we had like 3 little small jobs we had to get done, and we were dumped. So what I'm doing is I'm just moving money over to pay for those materials for those 3 little jobs, so, and it was from last year. So that's what we're looking at, so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, consider any miscellaneous and routine items. Commissioners, y'all have those in your package.
We got about 2 reports from Justice Peace 1 and 1 report from Justice Peace 4. Make a motion to approve all 3.
Second.
All right, we have 2 seconds again. All in favor?
Aye, I'm sorry.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 22, consider approval and authorization for payment of the bills as submitted by the county auditor. Gentlemen, y'all did have one thing added. Did everybody get that in their package? The extra? Okay. You have one additional added in your package. Make sure you look that over.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any questions about them? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, before we recess or adjourn, I'd like to make a comment. I'm glad to see a lot of people showing up in the Commissioners Court. It shows a lot of interest from the community, and we in the court really appreciate it. Thank you. Recess or adjourn, gentlemen?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank y'all.